The Healing Path. I'm Laura Donnelly, founder of the Healing Path Conversation Series and Dancing with Ease Body Brain Balance. People hire me to teach them to move out of pain and into healing. These conversations with friends and colleagues offer many perspectives on healing. And the thing that they have in common is that whatever the modality my friends are working in, we all know that inside, healing starts with self-healing and then it expands outwards. And so my guest today is coming back, Helen, Helen, and then she'll say her last name for you because I'll tell you that story later. But anyway, Helen is coming on. She'll give you a little history about herself and who she is. And then we all kind of just roll with what it means to be on this journey to finding your real self. So here you come, Helen.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you could come back. The first day we had it was on Zoom. Today we have the streaming platform. So we had so much fun talking. Mm-hmm. And about how this is kind of an unfolding journey. And then Helen said, we should do this again. And I said, yes, we should. So we're here. So do you want to tell people a little bit about you, your journey, and also tell them how to say your last name because it's early for me and I could tell I was going to completely boff that up.
That's all right, yeah. So my surname is Llewellyn, if you're English, or if you do it with a proper Welsh accent, something more along the lines of Llewellyn.
Oh, wow.
But it's a married name. So even my ex-husband had Welsh family, but even he wasn't Welsh. So we do it the English way, which is a bit easier. So yeah, you said about like a little intro type thing. So I guess I've always felt different. Rarely had lots of friends, but I've always stood out. I've not been one to hide too much. I will stand my corner and be all of me. But I'm finding that as I get older, there's kind of more of me to be, if you like. And yeah, one of the things I thought I might sort of put into this little chat we had is how words have power. Yeah, we talk so much about, oh, well, I should have done this or I could have done that. But you're in that moment doing whatever you're doing. Yeah, shoulds. Well, what is it then? Should you or shouldn't you? Who says? You know, if it's someone else, then think about it. Is it actually harmful to somebody else if you do the thing that you shouldn't do or vice versa? And maybe just be a bit braver and crack on. So I think one of my skills, if you like, is thinking around corners. You know, something comes up. Like the other day, we had, technological difficulties, didn't we? Oh, so yeah. With the whole thinking round corners principle, it's just, stay calm. What can we do to get around this hurdle? Yeah, and thinking around corners is what got me to emigrate. So I'm from the southern part of the UK, originally a farmer's daughter, then went into sort of finances, and I kind of like all of those things, but they're only parts of me. So I had to grow and develop to add in more parts of me. And now there's probably about 57 parts of me that I live every day, day to day, I suppose. And it's about finding those parts and the things you enjoy, things you can do for other people that perhaps others find a bit more difficult than you do. And that's all part of what I think is finding your true self. How about you? What do you think?
First, in your first description, you had said you were kind of the black sheep of your family.
Yes.
And since our first conversation and now, I was reading and someone said she was the rainbow sheep of her family. And I thought, oh, that's quite possibly a reframing, a new word for this, which is really nobody's like anybody else. My immediate family were all performing artists and also creative artists. And in growing up and beginning, I didn't even think about this. It just was normal. My mom and dad sang. They sang at home. I thought musicals were real life because that's what happened in my house. And when we would go to see a musical, that's what they were doing, you know. And so I had a little bit of a like a rough entry when I started going to school and coming up against other people's realities, right? This was my reality, that was their reality. And and so my immediate family, we were all kind of oddballs. So we were oddballs together. But out in the world, it was I always felt like, you know, it's at a dodecahedron that has like 10 sides.
I think so, yeah.
I felt like that, you know. I didn't feel like a square trying to go into a round peg. I just felt like this thing that had all these different edges. And as I've gotten older, I realized more people have more edges. They just and maybe it takes living a long time to figure out, oh, you know, this piece of me is really valuable. I'm bringing it back to a more prominent place, because I don't think we lose pieces of ourselves. I think more like we turn away from them and just leave them in the background. And so, yeah, it's like this year I've been well. You know what, I saw your beautiful art online, like you're redoing the furniture and giving it a new surface, new colors, new. It's just really fun. And I have done that sometimes in the past, and I had kind of quit. And I do drawing, painting, things like that, and sewing, and I get too busy. But then this year I signed up for a creative co-working session. I love it so much, you know, just an hour. But I set aside an hour and I do something fun. And so that's another piece of me, very gently, that I brought back this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you said you had 57 that you were kind of actively using, which means that you have, what, you got 43 of those others that aren't quite up onto the surface yet.
Probably.
And I can tell you have a creative brain and a math brain, and I think there are more of us out there like that. But I do taxes and financial organization for people on the side, just how to run their small business more efficiently and stuff. And then people go, how can you do both of those things? And I've learned over time not to say, how can you not do both of those things? And so now I just say, well, I'm just lucky. And I think that's part of it. Don't you feel lucky every day that you got some of this back into your daily life? Yeah, and seeing you smile. I mean, even when stuff is bad, because you have bad days, right? We have a storm and part of my tree blew down, and the part of my tree didn't blow down. So I can choose which thing I'm going to focus on. Mm-hmm. And then by the end of the summer, this happened in the beginning of the summer. By the end of the summer, it produced more fruit than it had produced. It was actually overgrown. The pear tree was actually overgrown. And but you know, sometimes you need an outside impetus to create action. Sometimes the action comes from inside. Sometimes something happens outside and you take steps after that because you were encouraged to do so by something, by your brain, by the event. And you're like, how I used to work with this is not going to work. So we hadn't trimmed the tree. Mm-hmm. So now nature trimmed the tree. Now we will have to trim up nature's trim job.
Yeah.
But it will probably be healthier. Whereas I could have been upset and cried and I'm like, oh, darn, you know, or it was like, darn, look at that. Oh, that's it. reaction. Now, I was pretty excitable as a kid about everything. I found a bug, yay! I stubbed my toe, wah! It was just like, and how to manage that excitability inside me in a more positive way,
Mm-hmm.
so that I didn't get. What am I like now? Now I'm like on a very nice road that goes up and down. And when I was young, I was pretty much on a roller coaster that only had highs and lows.
Right.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Sort of, but no, I think I'm more the top level of the roller coaster. I don't really have lows. I go along up here somewhere.
So now you're like just like looping up
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
I'm more like bobbing on a gentle wave somewhere up there.
cool, cool. Um, that yeah. Well, it does happen that way, I think. But when I was young, I was not bopping. I mean, I had lots of very happy times, but I would get upset about something that was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
In my world, wrong is another word. Um, just like my normal was not everybody else's normal, my wrong is not everybody else's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But on the playground, I was definitely helping, defending, you know, somebody I thought was getting beat up by bullies.
Yeah.
Then the teacher is like, why did you do that? And then try to explain the whole story, and it didn't always work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sometimes had to sit at my desk with my head down.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Do you find that I don't know, your opinions or the amount where you feel that you need to be right or wrong has changed over the years? Because I know mine has.
Right. Well, I'll share, and then you share. You tell me how yours has changed. I'm really clear now that what is right for me is right for me, and a little bit. I used to want people to agree with me. Yeah, that's right for you. And if they didn't, then I might try on some different ways of doing things, some different. What if I? It's like when you have friends and you go to the candy store, and we had the best candy store. Like for a nickel, you could get like 10 pieces of candy. It was such a fun store. And so, but sometimes I had, people I knew from school who would like go sneak an extra piece of candy, and they're like, well, why don't you do that too? And then you have to say, well, I don't want to. But when I was young, no, that's wrong. So how to navigating the world, that was what I had a challenge doing, really. It took me a while to learn and because I think I care about people really a lot, as when people would be upset or frightened or anything, I would want to help. And as a younger person, I didn't have a good understanding of how to help somebody. I would just try to fix the problem. If I could just fix this problem, they would be okay. Well, it wasn't my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't
Yeah.
my problem to fix. So yes, the and the sadness, that I was trying to avoid the sadness. So like if something is going on for somebody, I understand now they need to solve it, because it's something they in their life. Now if they say, can you give me a hand with this, I will, but I won't just automatically jump in and say, hey, we can fix this. If you just do this or that or the other thing, this will fix this. Still, in the tax thing, I still have a piece of that I can let that out, because that's concrete and rules and law. And I say, okay, you need to report this way. And then the IRS, our government taxing agency, will be fine. They won't look at you. They won't give you a headache, nothing. But if but in interpersonal relations, I can allow myself to hurt for the other person, to feel sad for them, and to put out the energy that they will be able to solve this sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
All the while knowing that whatever healing path they take to solve that problem has the learning they need to experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've been on that little roller coaster too, many times, where you try and fix people. Yes. But on the note of right and wrong, I think I used to always want to be right, and what I said I thought was right. I would listen to other people and I would change my opinion if I saw some other good evidence. But originally, when I was quite young, I probably didn't listen very well. So my listening skills have improved. And I'm still quite hot on injustice. If I see someone else being taken advantage of, then I may well call out the person that's doing wrong, possibly, depending on the situation, of course. I had a chat with someone. It was a Facebook conversation, and they don't always go as planned, as we all know. A topic had been introduced on, what do you think about this? And I was answering by a third party, and I was answering from my perspective, and he was coming at it from quite an academic way. Which was fine. We were all putting our points in and sort of saying, what about this and what about that? And this is how I feel, and that's what I think. I'll come back to those two words. And the most interesting part, I mean, some of his points were really good, but other than that, the bit that fascinated me most was he really felt the need to be right. Now, I never said he was wrong, and I don't really feel he was, but I don't agree with him. I think he was missing a layer of his argument, if you like. But he won't entertain my way of looking at things. That's fine. I'm not here to change his mind, much like you say about healing problems. But I was just intrigued as to why it was so important to him to be right. Because he almost reverted into being like a 6-year-old. You could see how the typing changed and how it was like, but you said, no, I didn't. I said, I don't agree with you. That's not the same as saying you were wrong. So I thought that was fascinating. So that got me thinking a little bit. And I wonder whether people don't always do both. Like we were saying about, we're both creative brains and we have a maths organizing brain as well. Whether some people can only think or feel, because I think I can do both of those as well, and maybe that relates to being mathematical and creative. I don't know. What do you think on that?
That's really interesting. I hadn't lined those up exactly that way. Wow.
Bit left
No.
there.
The brain's going because yeah, no, that's very interesting. But because like ideas and words, and a lot of times when I work with people, this is one of the things I say is, well, this is blah 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 blah, this is happening, that's happening, and I'm like, what if those are just ideas about what is happening? And so that's a really clean, logical thing that, for me, and usually the people I'm talking to, separates the idea, the concept that is bothering somebody, from the emotion that's bothering them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times for people, what you said is think and feel, which is like together. And if you know you're doing both, you can look at both sides of the equation. But if they're just fused for somebody, then if they feel like you don't agree with them, they feel wrong, but they jump back to the logic argument and start dealing that way to deal with it's dealing with the feelings. I think everybody has both feelings and thoughts, but I think creative people spend a little more time, maybe. I have to find out in the comments if people respond, that maybe creative people feel and are aware more of what they're feeling, as opposed to having those feelings for people who don't consider themselves creative. They don't consider themselves, maybe they would say touchy-feely, that they aren't aware how the feelings are fueling their ideas or their opinion. And when something gets rigid, for me, when something gets rigid, that's a sign that I got something out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And now tell me this, if you discovered this, where you were very calm and saying, I didn't say you were wrong. I said I didn't agree with you. And did he get more angry in a way?
It's difficult to tell because it was all written, because it was Facebook.
Hmm.
So he certainly maintained it, but I can't really tell you whether it escalated or not, because it was just.
Well, because this is another thing is that I have discovered, and it's kind of interesting. Getting older is there's it's I'm thinking now, like in high school, if everybody is like excited about something and you're just not that excited about it, so that's kind of cool. Suddenly you're outside because you didn't join them in that cluster of emotions and ideas and what's happening, and you didn't join the energy in the way they were expressing that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a side thing of agreeing with somebody intellectually. But the disharmony that happens when you're out of phase emotionally or out of phase thought-wise with other people, so it sounds like you're more comfortable being out of harmony and being true to yourself. That's
Yeah, I think so.
That's a long journey, right?
Mm.
Because that other thing, that conforming thing that we talked about before, this fitting in, that's putting yourself in harmony with the prevailing feelings or beliefs. And lately, what I've noticed is that if I'm calm, because as a young person, if I didn't blend in, then I was really upset.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't I fit? And why don't I like this? And everybody likes this, and and now I'm just like, well, that's interesting. But what I've noticed is that if I don't engage in the energetic energy that the other people are attached to, they still feel criticized. And I'm like, well, either we can talk about this or we can't.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just telling you I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And it's fine with me if you go there, if that's where you want to be, And a friend of mine, she had a road rage episode. Chased somebody down the highway, actually flashed her lights at them and everything. Probably you guys don't have this so much in Europe. Actually, when I drove in Europe, the whole tiny roads and little cars and like people driving in the middle of the road till another car shows, and then everybody moves to this. I mean, the whole thing was a little bit scary, but here we have huge roads and stuff, and so people chase each other in their cars for unknown reasons. Well, yes, not unknown reasons, but because they get carried away by something.
Mm-hmm.
And she realized that she was hungry and tired and lonely. And then she quit. And she said, well, fortunately that didn't end badly. But this guy had zipped up on her bumper and flashed his lights. And this can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. It just makes you mad. So she pulled over and he went past her. And then she went out and she went right up behind him and flashed, the whole thing. But when I lived in New York, I could car cuss like a taxi driver, man. Mm-hmm. I was excellent at it. But energetically, it moves me into a place I don't really like anymore. But every once in a while, it happens. But what I know now is it happens when I'm afraid, mm-hmm. right? And that my my default for fear is anger. Well, this is very useful to know about your own self, so that when you get angry, you're like, what did I skip over here? What did I leap over to go to my default? And so I've been trying. I do all this stuff with ease, and paying attention to where tension is, and so every once in a while, after I make a little car cussing because somebody cut me off or something, I laugh, and then I try to say the same thing without the tension and anger in my voice, and I just can't do it.
No.
Like you said, certain words come with,
Yes.
and then I'm laughing, and so then the whole episode has a whole different end result for me than the beginning result was. And it's just like, that is so weird. It's so funny and so weird.
Yes.
And mostly I don't say those words anymore because mostly I don't want to be in that energy anymore. But the other day my computer was doing something stupid and cutting off my sound in a meeting. And the people are going, we can't hear you, log out, come back in, do this, do that. So I was doing those things. And then I did this and I did that, and the thing popped up again. And then I'm cursing at it. And then I hear them all going, oops. And I'm like, well, technology still gets on my nerves.
Yeah. Yeah. And you probably know this bit already, but like if you're feeling angry, then you'll have like an angry face, or you'll be tensed up with shoulders up here or something. If you try just, I don't know, if nobody can see, you can like just do a wave over here or something, so your shoulder naturally drops. Try being angry when you've changed body position. And it can be far more subtle than that. It doesn't have to be a really big change. It can be, moving a finger.
Right.
Whatever it is, if you just move something really small when you're in that energy or emotional pattern that you don't want, then it will drift away usually. Depends a little bit what it is, but it's quite a good little tip
Tool.
to
It's like a pattern interrupt.
Yes.
And if you're dealing with somebody who's angry, right? And like when somebody's angry, generally they want you to get angry back so that you
Yes.
can have this push off energy of each other. Now I try not to laugh anymore. See, I still am apt to go to the far end of the scale. But just staying calm in the face of somebody who's angry, often they get more and more angry.
Yeah.
Now, if you laugh in the middle of this, they just come apart. But so pushing back with the same quality of energy, it's like I often go back to dancing metaphors, and you probably have something from hiking and walking that is similar. But if you want to jump higher, you push down on the floor harder, and then you spring higher. So it's also like martial arts. So if somebody is in this place, if I can just move to the side so that their energy just keeps going and it doesn't hit anything, doesn't hit me, it doesn't hit my resistance, that gives them nothing to push against. So they have to sustain their anger all on their own, and I don't have to interrupt it either. I don't have to trip them so that they have to change everything. I just have to pay attention to my side of the equation, right? My side of the equation, which is, this is coming at me. Look, I could just lean to the side and it could go right past me. How lovely is that?
Yeah. A quick or a yeah sometimes just dissipates things nicely, doesn't it? It's kind of a choose your battles. Yeah, some things are worth standing up for and worth making a point of, but sometimes you have to do it later or tomorrow. Now is not the best time. I think that works particularly when it's someone who's really close to you.
Yeah.
You know, you want to say something because something's irritated you or you're worried or bothered yourself. But if they're not in the right place, if they're on the phone or they've got something on their own mind, don't do it. Just wait. You can even make a space for it. And I think we need to, as a generality, remember that we need space to put these things in. So we need to be creating that space somehow. Even if it gets quite formal and go, look, I've got something I want to talk about. Could we have a coffee later or whenever you're ready? And setting it up on a more formal basis, perhaps.
Yeah. No, yes, space. And okay, now I have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you think fast?
Yeah.
That your brain, yeah. And um and for me, like I can go through a lot of ideas and thoughts and come out here, which is a big jump from where I left somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And and this causes confusion.
Yeah. People go, how do you do all that? And you go, well, you just do. And you think, I have two ways of thinking, and maybe this comes back to creative mathematical. Sometimes I have the fast flow thinking of, I don't know, this is the thing we need to know more about or the problem to solve. How am I going to do it? I'll do like a real world example. It's not really a problem, but my other half will say, I've seen this sort of advert and it's for a cycle ride and it maybe, I don't know, it's 30 kilometers, but I don't really know. And it's over this place. And 3 minutes later, I've given him the route on an app because I just think about how to look for it differently.
Ah,
So it's kind of that, I don't know, the very logical thought to get to the end of the problem, but I can do it the other way as well. And where lots of other people would go from A to B to C, I've probably been via E, K, Q, R, and P, and then come back again. I only ended up at C.
right.
So yeah, do
Right.
you do that? Do you have different thinking styles? Do you reckon?
Oh, well, I kind of liken my thinking style to a giant spider web.
Right. How does that work?
And that everything is connected for me.
Uh-huh.
And so something I think something, it's hard to do in this little tiny screen, but something way out here is connected to this thing, but via very zigzaggy path. But so somebody might say this, and then I say that, and I used to try and explain the path, sort of like a very complex painting, and you start at one corner and you try to explain the whole painting to somebody, and like of course they're done after about 4 sentences because it doesn't make a picture for them. And so when that happens now, it's like it's like the other thing it's like is those games they used to have where every once in a while all the things would line up and the balls would fall to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
They would just roll to the bottom all at once. And trying to explain that to somebody is like, I had one of those moments when you were talking about feelings and thinking. So I'm like, now I know, okay, this is me, this is mine, this is how I think. What a cool thing. And then I can ask the person, what didn't make sense about that to you, and I'll make a bridge that works for you, rather than taking them on my bridge, because my bridge makes sense to me, not necessarily going to make sense to them.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And so that's something maybe just the last 5 years I've gotten more skillful at, because I used to just try and take them from the first point and move them along on my bridge, my path, and that was not their path. And so that I had to still learn my path is my path and their path is their path. And I think I'm more willing to say that some people, I will never be able to communicate with some people.
Mm-hmm.
There's just some people that our styles are so different, and the things that we value are so different that in the past, when I would have done a whole chameleon thing, because there's something that I have that I really can blend into people. I really can. Oh, that's an energetic thing where you can feel what they feel and you can kind of mirror it back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's another one of those ball dropping things. and not everybody can do that either. And so then if this is one of my superpowers, I can decide when I want to use it.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, all of these things, they just happened automatically, and I didn't understand that even like riding a horse, they want to grab this weed and you say, not now. I didn't realize I could say that too about parts of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me the information, great, because I need that information, but let's not put it out in the world today. So that was a moment of learning, and bringing happiness and joy to myself, because it allows me to have. What does it allow? Well, it just, again, allows me not to be carried away by the information coming in, because it's all information. If you're with somebody and they're pretending to be okay because they have a lot to do, but they're really upset, they don't really want you to go to the really upset. They're trying not to deal with the really upset. But in the old days, it didn't even matter if I was trying not to go there. I would step right in it, like stepping on it. Dog poop in the middle of the room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was unfortunate.
Yes. Yeah.
But so it's skills, right?
Took me a long time to understand that people aren't supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be different. I think that's been my biggest realization ever, I suppose, because you go through your teens, your 20s and your 30s, and like you're saying, you try and conform. It's like, but I should like this because it fits my skill set, but it doesn't feel right, but I don't know why. And we were talking about that last time as well. I think so many people do what they feel, coming back again to the words, feel they should. Whereas I think if we spend more time doing what we enjoy, what makes us light up for the inside, and then you've got more inner resources to cope with any challenges that come up. And I think the other big tip for helping to do that is stop watching the news. Don't go and watch the news every day. If you want to watch the headlines or just have a quick flick, fine. But how many times, what can you do if there's a tsunami in India? What can you do? If you want to send some money, off you go. But there's no point reliving it for all those poor people.
Watching it.
It's just going to get you down and down. And you are better by keeping your strength, your compassion, your love alight. Because then you can show that bit of hope to someone else who's not doing so well. And it always sounds a bit chintzy somehow, but it's the love of the world that helps move us forward, I think.
Yeah. Yes. And
you can carry it, I don't mind.
Yeah. Well, no, happy as we are, it's very easy for people to say, well, that's just a really nice Pollyanna attitude, and I'm glad you can have it.
Mm.
And I'm like, I kind of get stopped by that. And I think, is it worth the effort for me to explain to this person that this is a choice and a viewpoint, that I would rather be effective and active in the world, even if only with the 10 or 15 people I see in a day, than incapacitated in my easy chair crying over the terrible things that happen in the world. And I'm sorry, if you want to do that, you can do that. And there are 5,000 terrible things happening in my community, I am sure. Mm-hmm. Families in distress, children not getting the services they need to learn what they need to learn. I mean, I'm sure there's just all kinds of stuff. So once you go out into the larger world, and and the news seems to go out and tries to find those terrible things. They just
Mm.
seem, and even I have a kind of an alternative paper. They kind of harp on things. Then they put one happy news story kind of at the bottom and I'm like, I still will only look at the headlines on this thing now, and maybe I read one story or something, because their editorial philosophy, even if their point of view is slightly different, their editorial philosophy is the same. Let me agitate everybody,
Mm.
and um, then I'll give a little bit of a sugar pill at the end. Now, what makes me able to see that? What makes you able to see that when most people are still in the I got to watch the news so I know what's happening in the world? What world? That world, you know, like I have friends in Florida, and they had the hurricane, and I'm checking in with them, and I'm, I said I'm far away, like half a continent away, and I said I can't come help you clean your living room, but tell me what you need, and I will. If you need a new computer, if you need somebody to sort through the insurance because you had your electronics insured before the water blew in your apartment, I'll help you with that. That's a constructive thing,
Mm-hmm.
more practical than jumping in my car and helping people re-roof their house. But that's a potential in there. Much more positive for me to think, what can I do to support the people I know who are living through this, than watching the Weather Channel all the time. Where is the hurricane going? Where is the hurricane going? Where is the hurricane going? So again, it's choice of words and choice of attention.
Yes.
And the words are a symbol of the attention. Now I got all the way back to the beginning, didn't I?
Yeah.
So if I'm using the word should, I'm putting my attention outside of myself and on things I have no control over. I
Yes.
should do this, and these people will buy my online course. Yeah, no. Maybe they will, and maybe they won't. They will do what they are called to do. So what do I need to do? Now, I need to make something new. Because that's what makes me happy. So I'm not out there like talking to people over and over and over 150 times about the same little course I made. No, I'm making a new course, because that is what enlivens me. And then they say, what are you doing? Well, I'm making this thing. And they say, oh, that sounds interesting. And then we have a point of conversation that's coming from something that's growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watering the things in me that I want to have grow. And then I'm letting them bloom in the world. The flower doesn't worry about who's looking at it.
No. Yes.
You know.
Nice analogies.
And so why am I worried about who's looking at me?
Mm-hmm.
And I almost scared myself today. I was running around. And can I embrace this part of myself that looks at my phone and sets the right time, but doesn't notice that it's PM instead of AM?
Yes.
Can I laugh about that and say, oh, you were maybe you were more tired than you thought when you went to bed, and be kind to myself, and just I could be mad at myself. I could smack myself. In the old days, I used to hit myself when I made a mistake. And a friend of mine wrote this thing. He's on the same thing as words. What if there are no mistakes?
Hmm.
And then he has a whole little newsletter. I'll forward it to you, because he is just too fun and joyful. And that the thing that I was thinking of is that expectations, and how much do expectations play into should. I should do this because there's a hidden expectation that if I do that, this other thing will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm turning myself into a pretzel with this should and that should and the other should and another should, all for something that I have no control over making happen. But I think, same thing at school. Like if I had straight hair, I would fit in with the popular girls. No. Maybe not. Later, 20 years after high school, somebody said to me, "Oh, you're just the same. You were always so fun and funny." And I'm like, no, I was shy. I was awkward. I couldn't figure out what to do. Okay, obviously, my point of view and their point of view did not match.
Mm-hmm.
It was ridiculous. And I lost my train of thought, which happens to me often because I'm stuck up there in that spider web of all these connections.
Yeah.
But I would not give up. Okay, this is the other thing. I would not give up the spider web for more consistent linear thought, because the flashes of light that come through when they come to me are more important than being logical and linear all the time.
Yes. Yes. And do you do some things like you take up invitations or opportunities just to see where they go? Not because you know what you can do with them, but just to see what happens.
Yeah, it was the deal. Expectations. Yeah, no, just, well, like you. We have known each other through a mutual friend on Facebook and commented here and there. And then one day I said, I'm going to message Helen. Maybe we should have a little chat. Just say hello, coffee chat, And then we discover we have lots more things in common.
Mm-hmm.
Not the same journey, right? But a similar journey.
Yes.
Leading to, and that's the metaphor I use for the healing path, is this wagon wheel. And we all start out on the edge of the wagon wheel, and then there's all these spokes that lead to the hub. The hub is the center where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Hub is the center where we started, probably, and then we just thought we were popped out here on the outside, running over potholes and rocks and everything else. And so here we both find ourselves in a hub that is much more real for us, much more real for us.
Mm.
And we got there on these little spokes, and some of the steps were the same, and some of the steps were different.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the trips and falls were probably similar. and when you work with people, probably people come to you who want to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to change something in their lives.
Yeah.
When they start, you probably don't tell them that everything will change, right?
No.
I knew it.
It depends, doesn't it? It depends on them, depends on lots of things. But yeah,
right. Because you still have to start. You have to take your first step, whatever that first step is.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that happens, take the next step. And before you take the first step, you might have an idea of 3 or 4 possible second steps.
Yeah.
But you don't know the real second step until you took the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I knew you had been on this.
Yes,
it's the same journey, different steps, right? Yeah. And a fun thing. So
and just being relaxed about it, because I think lots of people would get quite anxious because they don't know what that second step is. But the knack is, as you say, take the first one and the right second one will unfold for you.
And again, expectation, and expectation is okay, right? It's without some dreams, you're not going to ever start anything.
Yeah.
But again, with words. Now, my mom, I love my mom a lot, and she was great, but she was a worrier, and she used to worry about me because in the world I do things that would be labeled going off half-cocked in appearance. I have information that other people don't have because of my giant spider web, but it looks like I'm heading into danger unnecessarily. So she spent a lot of time worrying about me. And finally, one time, I just asked her, because for years, said, don't worry, Mom, don't worry, it's going to be okay. Well, but still, her worry flows into me, right? And then maybe it's not okay because I take a misstep because I'm worried about upsetting my mom more, whatever. But finally, one time, I was probably in my late 40s, early 50s, took me a long time. I said, are you praying for bad things to happen to me? And she said, what? No, of course not. I said, but when you worry, you over and over think of all the bad things that might happen. How is that any different than praying?
Mm.
So we had a little pause in our conversation because that's pretty confrontational, right? And then a little bit later I said, here's what, I understand that you want me to be safe. I understand that, and I appreciate that. And I know what's safe for you and what's safe for me are two different things. I said, but when you feel the worry thing come up, when she was 85, she said, you never get over being a parent. I was like, I get you, Mom. But I said, when you feel that worry thing come up, could you just say a prayer that for the best possible outcome? Now that's not that I meet a rich guy and am safe for the rest of my life. That's a narrow outcome. But the best possible outcome opens the field for the thing I need to arrive for me. And I think a lot of times, we start out, we're kids in school and we're going to go to school and we're going to graduate and we're going to do this and we're going to get a job like that and we're going to marry somebody and we're going to have 2 kids and that's just one story, one expectation. It's not the right path for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, I try to encourage people to charge off on their own path, one step at a time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will use examples from mine that might work for other people or might inspire them to do something different. But my path is my path, as you say. It's not right for anybody else, probably, or not exactly, because we're all different. If we focus on being different, I think the world will be a happier place.
I think so. And the strengths in your differentness that you have, what are some of the strengths you've discovered in embracing your differentness?
I think being brave and just doing it. We're chatting with someone else earlier. I don't really have an inner critic. So I don't stop myself from doing things as such. Creative thinking. So something comes up and I will find a way. What else? I was going to say perseverance, but it depends on the context.
Learning to let go of things that aren't the right thing. That was a very challenging step on the journey. Because I said, well, I said I would do this. Well, what's changed since I made that statement? That this is no longer a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
No longer something that is, the situation is not the situation I meant when I said I would stay forever or do this forever. When you're 10 or 15 or 35, you have no idea how long forever is.
Yeah, true.
So this is a link to find you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this the elementaltribe.com? Is this the link for learning your own path?
Yes, that one's for doing any kind of coaching or therapy or finding solutions to whatever is causing you angst or hurt in any kind of way. Yes.
Right. And I'm just going to see now if I can show 2 at once. Oh, no, it just changes. How cute is that?
Yeah.
See, once again, I did that thing that I did the last time, which is, let me just see what happens if I push this button. Laura.
And on LinkedIn, people will find me, we'll talk about all sorts of things. I do talk about well-being quite often, but often as part of other people's posts to help them promote their thing. But these days, they'll also find me talking about co-owned homes.
I know. I'm so excited about that. I'm pushing this one up now too.
That's
So
the one.
this is,
Mediterranean, yes.
and so it's like and do the people know each other, or do you sometimes put together a group of people that you think will be responsible to share a property together?
Yeah, usually I'll put the group together. So I will promote usually about 3 at once of quite different properties to see which ones of interest to people. Gather them together. I'll give people budgets. They can have photographs. They can have video tours. Come right on out and come and see the place. Whatever works for them. Give as much information as possible. If people are really keen, then they'll go ahead and buy the house. It's normally a maximum of 8 shares. But if you've got a group of people that know each other and you want to have 50, I can make that work here in Spain. Everybody's names go on the title deeds. You literally own the house together. So you are in charge of everything, but I'm here to help manage and maintain it. So, you don't have to paint the outside to get the gardener in. I will sort it, and then I will share the bills with you, and you pay the bills exactly as they are. So the gardener charges €50. That €50 will be split between the owners of that house. There's no markup on it. You just come and use the house in accordance with your share. If you had a quarter of the house, then it's not that you'll have the other 3 people knocking around in other rooms. You will have exclusive use of it. So you book in on the central booking system and say, I want to come for a fortnight in November, enjoy some lovely winter sunshine. Up you come, have a good time, do whatever you want to do. You can bring friends if you want to bring clients and host your own little mini coaching program. That's fine. It's your house. You can do whatever you like.
That sounds like so much fun. I've been thinking about this since we talked last. First, dreaming what could happen, how easily it could happen, and just having a good time. And so this is how to reach me. We have all these links in the descriptions of these things. And if anybody has any questions or wants to join the conversation about journeys, words, what words mean, what words are helpful, what words, and some words that are perfect for me might not be good for you at all. And then we have to build a language between us that is good. And probably we will continue this because a journey is an unfolding thing. It's not a, sometimes it can be from A to B. And sometimes once you get to B, you're at a hill and you can see that the road goes off into the sunset. And what adventures are there on the next step?
Yes. Always a new opportunity around every corner.
There is. And it's so great talking to you, Helen. So I really appreciate your time and your joy and that you share these beautiful steps on your journey. And till next time.
Indeed. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.